Okay, picture this. You're sitting there, maybe at the kitchen table, got your coffee, you're looking at your bank account, and that thought hits you, right? That one that's like, how do I make this money? Well, actually do something for me.
Yeah.
And then boom, it feels like there are these two paths opening up. You've got the traditional human financial advisor over here, suit and tie maybe, ready for a real sit-down chat. And then on the other side, this super sleek digital platform. Looks fast, promises to sort out your investments in like minutes. So today, that's what we're really getting into. This core choice. Robo-Advisors versus human financial advisors.
And it's such a critical choice for you listening, especially now with how fast the financial world is moving. So our mission here, really, in this deep dive is to cut through all that marketing noise. We've looked at the sources, and we want to distill what's really going on, help you figure out which way, or maybe, a mix of both might genuinely be the best approach for your specific financial situation.
Right, let's try and unpack that. So first up, robo-advisors. We're basically talking about investment platforms driven by algorithms.
Yeah.
They use tech to figure out stuff like how much risk you're comfortable with, what your goals are, your timeline, and then they build and manage a portfolio for you. Now, the thing that really jumps out from the sources, I think, is the cost. Can you maybe talk a bit about how big that difference really is compared to the traditional folks?
Yeah, the efficiency is fascinating, really. Robo-advisors, they generally charge much less. Think like 0.25% to maybe 0.50% of your portfolio each year. And that's a pretty significant saving. It comes down to their model, right? It's different. No big salaries for advisors, less overhead like fancy offices. And because they're so efficient, they can offer things like tax loss harvesting pretty standardly. That's the strategy where they sell investments at a loss to offset gains elsewhere, potentially cutting your tax bill. And automatic rebalancing, too, all happens in the background. It's very accessible, very fast.
Okay, but there's always a but, isn't there, with all that efficiency? Well, a robo-advisor, it doesn't know you just got laid off. Or like maybe your mom suddenly moved in and your whole financial picture just got flipped upside down.
Exactly.
And it definitely can't hear the panic in your voice when the market takes a dive and you're thinking, oh my God, should I sell everything?
And that really brings up the value of the human element, doesn't it? That's where the human advisors can really make a difference. A good financial advisor, they're not just picking investments. They're kind of like a financial therapist sometimes.
Right.
Or an accountability partner, a strategist for the long haul, all of that. They become really invaluable, not just for those big life changes you mentioned, but also complex things like maybe you inherited some money or you have a small business you need to integrate with personal finances, or just helping you navigate the psychology of market swings.
Yeah, that deep human connection. But that usually costs more, right? That's the trade-off. We're typically looking at something around maybe 1% of your assets under management, which, just to clarify, means 1% of the total money they're managing for you. And there might be other fees too, like for hourly advice or specific financial plans. If you're just starting out, or maybe your portfolio isn't huge yet, that 1% can feel, pretty substantial.
So it leads to the big question. How do you choose? What the sources seem to suggest, sort of a rule of thumb maybe, is that if your financial life is, relatively simple, your main goal is just steady, long-term investing, a robo-advisor might honestly be perfectly fine. It could be all you need. But if you're dealing with more complex stuff, big life changes, significant wealth, or maybe you just really value that human reassurance and advice tailored exactly to you, then yeah, a human financial advisor could be worth every penny.
So is it strictly one or the other? Or is there like a middle ground?
Oh, absolutely. A hybrid approach is becoming really common, and it makes sense.
How does that work typically?
Well, you might use a robo-advisor for the core, sort of set it and forget it part of your investing. The automatic stuff, building wealth steadily. But then you might still meet with a human advisor, say, a couple of times a year. You'd talk through the bigger picture strategy, those really nuanced decisions, things that need a proper conversation, a human touch.
Huh. That makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About how we value different kinds of help, the automated versus the personal.
Exactly. So look, it's not really about tech versus tradition in some big battle. It really boils down to where you are on your financial path right now and how much support, what kind of support you actually need for your unique circumstances.
Totally agree. And whatever you're leaning towards, I think the key thing we found across the sources is this: actually doing something with your finances, engaging with your future, taking action. That's always going to be better than just letting it sit there doing nothing.
Right. And maybe a final thought to leave you with, as you navigate this increasingly complex world, don't just think about how you invest. Also, Consider what parts of your financial life really gain the most from that human connection. And where does automation actually serve you best? It's worth asking yourself, where does that line between technology and personal understanding fall when it comes to managing your wealth?